A resilient city is one that anticipates its shocks and stresses that are likely to hit the city, and it does it in a way that allows for participation of people who are likely to be affected by the threats or the risks that the city faces. So a resilient city is one that understands the risks that it faces and has taken action through its people to mitigate those risks and be prepared for the future. Now, why does the city want to do this? It's because urban areas have invested a lot of resources in building infrastructure, and its people have invested in housing and building communities. That is all at risk, along with the urban economy, if these hazards to development are not prepared for. And it's particularly important for an organization like the World Bank, where we invest in development and poverty alleviation. And then we see cities being hit by different types of shocks and stresses that push people back into poverty and that undo the development work that we've invested in along with developing countries. And we have to start from ground zero. I think the first thing to do is to partner with cities. Too often our focus might be at the national or even the regional level. So we have to increasingly find opportunities to work with, assist, and support cities that are facing risks. So we need to understand who those people are, what the magnitude of risk is, and how we can help out. Now, an organization like the World Bank and our Global Facility for Disaster Reduction and Recovery can help out in a couple of ways. First and foremost, we provide development finance. And so we would co-finance investments that are there to support resilience, but we would also look at opportunities to mainstream resilience in the investments that we're making in any case with cities. The second thing that we can do is we can provide technical assistance to particularly cities that have their own financing but may need some knowledge sharing and support to understand how they can mitigate risk in a more effective way. And the third thing that we can do is to promote partnerships and exchanges between cities that are doing a successful job of promoting resilience and reducing the hazards that they face. The big challenge is that cities over the next 20 years are going to need trillions of dollars of investment in both new infrastructure and upgraded infrastructure. So the challenge is, how do we get from the millions and the billions that we talk about in our development finance world to the trillions? And there it's really about leveraging the private investment that will and needs to take place on a much greater scale in the future to meet the needs of an urbanizing world. We have to do that in several different ways. The first way to think about it is that barriers have to be removed that are preventing now that financing from coming in. We need policies that enable more private sector investment in a way that supports the resilience agenda, and we need to remove some of the policy barriers to create this more enabling environment for investment. What we can do at our level is to co-finance with the private sector, and we can advise cities and countries about how to create that enabling environment for investment. And with our private sector partners, we can advise them on what makes for a more resilient infrastructure investment. What we would like to commit to do is work over the next 2 decades to, in 500 cities around the world, mobilize $500 billion of financing for this agenda, and particularly to help cities to cover the additional cost of making investments more resilient. The Resilient Cities Conference is a great stepping stone on the way to the Habitat 3 conference. So we had a fantastic launching of the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly goal number 11 on cities in September. We had the COP21 conference in Paris, and now we're moving towards the new urban agenda in Habitat 3. So this is a great time to take stock of where we're at and think about where we want to be in terms of implementing the new urban agenda. And that's going to require partnerships between cities, city organizations, and resilience building groups. It's going to require finance. It's going to require the political commitment of cities and countries to take on the resilience agenda. And I think we're seeing all of those elements emerging from the conference here today in Bonn.